Content warning for some immodesty. There are a few bath scenes where the characters are half nude, and some immodest clothing too, so if you do have lust issues, probably skip this anime. So this guy Sakta is a pretty responsible guy, so responsible that he's got the initiative to go to the library outside of school hours, and on his little escapade to the library, he sees a wild bunny girl, and not just any bunny girl, it's the famous actress Mai Sakurajima, who also happens to attend his school. But something's off. No one except him can actually see Bunny Girl Mai, and with such a provocative outfit too, it's odd that no one else seems to acknowledge her presence. And with that, we've got the premise of this anime. Sakta encounters these girls who experience odd phenomena, and being the nice guy he is, goes and helps them out. We later learn that these afflictions affecting these high schoolers are what this anime refers to as puberty syndrome. I won't spoil what the other girls' puberty syndrome are, but I will explain Mai's, as hers is a very good hook for the anime. Considering Mai is a well-known actress, she's sort of been outcast from her school social life, only exacerbated by the fact she missed half of her first year due to filming commitments, thus being deliberately ignored by her classmates, not having anyone make a concerted effort to befriend her, meaning in effect she is perceived as invisible by everyone else. In real life, of course, this is absolutely tragic, to be completely friendless, to be utterly ignored, to be perceived as invisible. Hence, Mai's puberty syndrome is to actually become invisible. So long as the people at her school treats her as such, the perception of invisibility actually becomes reality and spreads throughout society. And why we find Mai in a bunny girl costume in the library in the first episode. A fun game of hers to try find out if people can still see her, since of course you would notice if you saw a girl strutting around in such immodest attire. This really is the beauty of Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. The teenage experience, the awkwardness, the tragedy being demonstrated through puberty syndrome. This anime has done a very good job at communicating the troubles of the teenage experience. The atmosphere created by the music helps this out with a very subtle track playing in the background, not too intrusive, but also being highly effective. I also absolutely adore the dialogue in this. It's witty, clever, with everything coming out of these characters' mouths feeling meaningful. It's as if there isn't a word which is wasted, and as much as I could keep banging on about the dialogue, I'll stop in case I give any spoilers. I especially appreciate Sakta, who comes off not as arrogant, but as actually clever. He makes many an offhanded comment, which makes him very endearing. But it's this persona which Sakta possesses which makes his more emotional moments hit hard. His very nonchalant, sarcastic persona comes as a striking contrast not only to the other characters, but also comes into contrast to his outbursts at times over the series. It's that attention to detail which Bunny Girl Senpai excels at, not only in the writing of its characters or in its dialogue, but also extending to the animation and to the backgrounds. There are fully animated crowds to really sell the busyness of the high school. The bookshelf in this girl's room, which really sells her sciencey personality. Small waves at the beach and on the ocean. Not to mention that the way the story progresses is really clean. The transitions between scenes don't feel forced, and the whole series doesn't feel like 5 separate stories which have been stitched together, but as one cohesive and continuous story. So, with all this praise imparted on Bunny Girl Senpai, you may be asking, where's the Christian part of this video? Well, now that you've made it this far into the video, why don't you leave a like and subscribe for more Christian anime recommendations. Ultimately, what makes Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai a Christian anime is the attitude that Sakta has towards others. He may be nonchalant about it, but in the end he's helping people, and this isn't like the ordinary sort of helping out where you do a friend a favor. At least for the first 2 people we encounter in the series, these are strangers to Sakta. It certainly doesn't come naturally for us to help out people who we know nothing about. It's certainly not in our self-interest to be charitable in this way, though it is a Christian virtue. I'll remind you again that in the case of Mai, she essentially has no one to really turn to help her out with her puberty syndrome. She finds herself in such an extraordinary circumstance, one that necessitates an established community to provide support. Sakta provides that support in her time of greatest need, and the reasoning behind why Sakta does this so perfectly parallels the gospel which we believe. It's because Sakta met an older girl who supported him when he had his own troubles with puberty syndrome that Sakta now helps Mai. It's because of the selflessness of that older girl that now Sakta imparts that onto others. And what's the reason why we as Christians ought to act in grace and love towards others? It's because Christ was first gracious and loving towards us that we now do the same. It's because Christ has died for us that we live in accordance to what he taught. That attitude should be our reason why we continue to live. Part 2 of this video will include a deep dive further into the rest of the plot and will include spoilers, so if you do end up watching Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai and the movie too, come back to watch part 2 of why I think Bunny Girl Senpai is a Christian anime.